Hello and welcome to episode number 200 of the eBPF and Cilium Office Hours live stream. This is celebrating almost 5 years of eCHO episodes. So thank you to everyone who's been joining us so far. Thank you even more if you're joining us live today. Do type into the comments, let us know where you're watching us from. We always love to hear from you. Also, in this episode, we're going to be asking you to ask questions of our audience later on. So if you do have questions for the creators and founders of the Cilium project, this is going to be your opportunity to ask them. All right. So before we go into a quick review of the first 10 years of Cilium, I actually just want to bring the guests onto the screen. So in no particular order, I'm going to bring on Daniel, Andre, Thomas, and Joe. Joe's dialing in from California, so it's quite early in the morning for him. I hope you've had lots of coffee, Joe.
Lots of coffee here.
I think they call it Morning Joe, don't they?
They do. Good old cup of Joe.
Perfect. All right. So, and thank you to all of you for joining us today for this celebratory episode. Why don't we start? Thomas, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and maybe if you can think of a favorite incident or anecdote from the last 10 years of Cilium?
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm Thomas. I'm one of the creators of Cilium. I also had the honor to write the first commit to Cilium almost 10 years, or just a little bit more than 10 years ago. And later co-founded iSurveillance together with Dan Wendland. My favorite incident, there's only one possible answer. It's the Nginx incident, and everybody who has been with us at that point remembers this. It was a typo in how Nginx was written, and you were looking for hours to try and figure out why the network policy was not working, and nobody saw the typo. Nginx was simply written incorrectly, and we did everything from debugging the data path to looking at hex dumps, and which is nobody spotted the very obvious typo.
Wonderful. We've got a couple of people saying hello and Happy New Year. So hi to Joseph and hi to Tony, both regular viewers. Lovely to see you here today. Daniel, why don't you go next and just say a few words of introduction?
Hey, I'm Daniel. I've been involved in Cilium as well as eBPF and the Linux kernel from the very beginning. Still working on both projects, and my favorite moment, not in terms of incident, but in terms of, like a joyful moment, was when we got the kubeproxy replacement first working. We had this eureka moment with the team back in the Bay Area, and later that day we tested it with playing Quake 3 behind the Notepad service. I think this was super, super cool. One of the incidents that I still remember, which also demonstrated the power of eBPF, I would say, was when Datadog, they had in production lots of TCP, this was many years ago, retransmissions from their pods. And it turned out this came in because of a kernel stable update, which created a bug in the Weave driver. And we fixed that. That bug basically turned the physical NIC, which is usually a multi-queue NIC, into a single queue NIC, because all the traffic was pinned that was going out to the single queue. And we fixed that bug in the kernel, but at the same time, we fixed it in Cilium. So they simply had to roll out a new minor release of Cilium without having to restart the kernel. And I think that's pretty cool, and also shows the power of what can be done with eBPF.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daniel. Andre, do you want to go next?
Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Andre. Happy New Year. So I also one of the co-creators of Cilium. My favorite moment, I think I have two favorite moments. One of them was when we were, I think it was only around 10 developers of Cilium, and we were meeting together the first time in Zurich. And at the same time, there was a person that was having a video conference with us. His name is Eloy Cotto, and he was telling us about Jenkins and that it would be really great to have Cilium CI running on Jenkins. And we were okay with the idea, and this was an external contributor. It was the first contribution that he was making into Cilium. And we were just blown away by the fact that he already migrated all the CI into Jenkins, and he just wanted to push a PR with all of these changes into Cilium. And he was basically just asking us for permission when we were just like blown away by this. And obviously we accepted this contribution from this random person. And in the end, he ended up joining Isovalent, and we still chat nowadays. And the other fun memory that I have was a gift from Thomas back in the days.
I just got to interrupt you for a second because Eloy is actually watching and says, "I love you all." So, hi
Eloy. And the gift was this hoodie. It's too hot to wear it right now, but it has the old Cilium logo, the first Cilium logo that we had.
Love it. Thank you, Andre. We've also had a couple more people saying hello. We've got Sulav, who's watching us on LinkedIn. There you go. We're streaming not just to YouTube, but also to LinkedIn. And Theodore from Slovenia. Hi to you. So welcome everyone who is watching us. Finally, let me ask Joe to introduce yourself and tell us about a favorite moment if you can.
Yeah, I'm Joe. I'm a co-maintainer of Cilium. And yeah, I was thinking about this maybe 6 or 7 years ago. We were browsing on Twitter for the Cilium hashtag, and we found somebody who was running Cilium on a mobile phone for the first time. So it's just a screenshot from an Android screen, and you could see the little Cilium logo. They're running the Cilium CLI, Cilium status, and actually running Cilium directly on the ARM processor on the Android phone. So that was just a really cool moment to see like the different applications and platforms you could run Cilium on.
Fantastic. Right, so just going to ask Katie, who is behind the scenes on this production today. She's prepared a few slides. So Katie, if you can bring those slides onto screen, that would be amazing. And while we're waiting for that, I should probably try and think of a favorite moment. I'm actually going to say my favorite moment is before I was involved in the project. And it's actually going back to that early DockerCon when I saw Thomas presenting Cilium. And it was the first time I'd come across eBPF, let alone Cilium. And it just kind of blew my mind. And, you know, several years later, here we all are. And I'm thrilled that I managed to get involved in the project and in Isovalent as well. So that's been wonderful. Okay, so here we have our slides. A quick recap of a decade of Cilium. So I think there are a few data points that we're going to bring up here. Thomas already mentioned making that first Cilium commit just over 10 years ago. So that's fantastic.
Super exciting. A git ignore file, right? It was a
git ignore file. And you were the first of well over 1,000 contributors. I think that screenshot with 1,012 might even be a little bit out of date now because we did that, you know, at the 10-year mark. So thank you to each and every one of you who has made those contributions. Fantastic. While we're talking, a couple more people who've said hello. Just going to mention hi to 32 Medmaster. You're excited. We're excited. Happy New Year. And Happy New Year to our friend Ray. Thanks for joining us. Cilium is the second largest project in the CNCF, so the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. If anyone doesn't know, it is where Kubernetes and lots of other open source cloud native projects live. And Cilium is the second most contributed to project. So that's awesome. And I think there's one more stat to go on this slide. Over 45,000 GitHub stars across all of the different Cilium repos. So that's an amazing number. I'm sure we've got more to go, but that's fantastic. Okay. Over 500,000 contributions, which I think is mind-blowing. And we can really see how the number of contributions leapt up since we contributed Cilium to the CNCF back in 2021. So that was a real big milestone, I think, for the project as well. And we have contributors across the globe. I think it's 82 different countries that we're spanning. So it's a few little facts for to describe the last 10 years of Cilium. One more greeting coming to us from another viewer on LinkedIn. Hi to Rachel. Thanks for joining us. And Happy New Year to you too. All right. We are going to move on to the next phase of this show, where we're going to have a Family Feud style quiz. So to make sure you all know how this works, I think I'm going to just, there we go. The idea here is that as the panel for this particular quiz show, the four of you are not necessarily trying to guess the right answer. We have asked these questions on LinkedIn, on social media. We've had responses from the audience. We've had responses from, survey says, and you are trying to guess what people would have answered to these questions. Basically, we're trying to get all four answers correct. We're trying to guess what the four most popular answers to these Cilium-related questions are. And we're trying to do that before we hit three strikes and we're out. All right. So, Katie, behind the scenes, could you bring up the first question, please? All right. So we asked the audience, name something you've replaced with Cilium. So we're going to just try and do this collaboratively and like amongst the group of you, what do you think the audience said they have replaced with Cilium?
I'm going to go with the obvious one, Calico.
Calico. All right. Should we see? Did the survey say we replaced something with Calico? Another CNI. Top answer. That was the most popular answer. All right. What else have people told us they've replaced with Cilium?
I would say probably QProxy, because it's one of the popular features. So our QProxy replacement with BPF, basically.
I think the word replacement is hopefully a big clue there. Let's find out. Did the audience say, yes, QProxy was the second most popular. All right. What else could people have replaced with Cilium?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and try Metal LB.
Metal LB.
Yeah.
How about that? Is that an answer? No, that was an incorrect answer. Okay. Oh, actually, we've got a guess here from the audience. Ingress or API gateway? Are we going to accept that as? I think we should accept that as a guess.
We should accept it.
Yeah. All right. Ingress or API gateway is service mesh. We'll take it. Fantastic. All right. One more to guess. Oh, ingress controller. Maybe that's covered both. All right. Fantastic. So we successfully guessed that question correctly. Let's move on to the next question. Oh, Ray has also suggested we could have said sidecars. That would have also been a good answer, wouldn't it? All right. What would you say our audience has said was the most used Cilium feature in production?
I would say network policy.
Is network policy an answer?
So let's try with network policy.
Network policy is number 2. Okay, we have another guess from Joseph, who's saying CNI. Is CNI an answer? No.
Oh no.
Sorry. Oh no.
Key
Okay,
proxy replacement, maybe?
Q proxy replacement. Do we want to take that as a guess?
Maybe load balancing.
Let's go with Hubble. Hubble, I think Hubble is core.
We've also got an audience suggestion from Capilla.
Oh.
Hi, Capilla, suggesting Hubble. So are we gonna consensus on Hubble?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's find out. Is Hubble UI? Interesting. Okay, that counts. What else?
Well,
I think
one was-
Andre
Go on.
said the Q proxy replacement. So let's try that as well.
All right, Q proxy replacement. Is that? Yes,
Okay.
it is. All right. So it looks like we are only missing the most popular response.
It must
So
be, it
maybe-
must be networking, right?
Let's
Yeah.
find out.
Oh, yeah.
Yay!
Hey.
That makes sense. Let's move on to the next question, please. Okay. Name a company that uses Cilium in production. What do you think the audience might have said for this?
Well, Adobe won the end user award most relatively recently, so let's try with Adobe, a really long-term Cilium user.
Okay. Is Adobe one of the answers? Yes, it is.
Oh, core.
Good.
Close.
All right.
Datadog?
Is Datadog one of the answers?
Oh, no.
Not according to our audience. Of course, we know it is
Oh.
true. We know that
Yeah.
they're actually huge users of Cilium and contributors to Cilium as well. They've been really active.
What
Okay.
about cloud providers? Let's say, for example, Google.
Let's find out. Is Google an answer? No. Okay. We have got a couple of suggestions from the audience here, which I'm editorialized to say they are the same answer. So one of the suggestions is Isovalent and the other one is Cisco. So do we think that Isovalent and Cisco will be one of the answers that our audience would have suggested here for this question?
It's a pretty good guess.
Probably not. Seems too obvious.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, here's an interesting suggestion here from the audience. Netflix.
Maybe the answer is Google, right? Lots of people say GK usage.
Didn't we just say that? I think we just.
Oh, okay. I was missing
Google.
that.
And how about Microsoft?
Microsoft. Let's try Microsoft.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. That
Right.
was our audience is most familiar with Microsoft being a Cilium user in production. That's interesting. Okay. Got to come up with some more guesses here. It's a little bit difficult, I guess, because we, as Isovalent folks, know a few people who are using it, but where it's not publicly known that they're using it. Yeah.
Did we say AWS already?
Did we say AWS already? Let's try it. No. Amazon. Oh, that was the third X as well. So we're going to have to reveal the answers. So the answers are.
I think the answer is we have too many production users of Cilium at this point.
Oh, we need to go back and we missed, Katie, what the answers were. Can we find out? Oh, maybe we can't find out. The red X's are growing. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe
Okay.
there will stay a mystery.
There we go. OpenAI. And what's number 2? We're going to find out what number 2 is.
Suspense.
The suspense. Katie, do you want to click on number 2? Tell us what that one is. Oh, no. Okay, maybe that's just going to be a mystery, and we'll figure that out and reveal at the end of the show. Okay, let's do. Actually, before we ask this question, I'm just going to ask the audience. When we stop doing this quiz, we're going to just have free-form ask me anything questions for our panelists. So if you have got questions you would ask to Daniel or Andre or Joe or Thomas, please do start typing them in so that we can bring those on after the quiz. All right. What would you say the audience thinks is the biggest problem Cilium solves for you?
Scalability?
Scalability, is that?
Yeah.
Should we try that? Let's try that. I can see. No, that's a big red X, I'm afraid.
Observability with Hubble.
Observability? That seems like a good answer. Yes. All right.
I wonder if maybe performance.
Performance. Do we have performance as an audience answer? Performance issues. Fantastic.
How about multi-cluster connectivity?
Do we have multi-cluster in there? Oh.
Let's try security with network policies and encryption.
And we've also got a similar suggestion from Pankaj Kumar saying segmentation, which I think is the same. We can consider that network policy, network security. Is that an answer? Network policies, that work.
Network.
I like the phrasing of that. That's good.
I love it.
All right, we have one more answer to guess.
Maybe network encryption.
Ooh, network
Something
encryption.
we didn't cover yet.
Oh, that was a big 3 red X's. As Carla said, the red X's are growing. Okay, so I think we're just going to have to reveal what is the 4th biggest problem that our audience said Cilium has solved. Service mesh complexity. Yeah, interesting. All right, I think we can let's do one more of these quiz questions, shall we? Okay. How did you, and remember we're asking the audience how they first learned about Cilium. What do you think the audience said?
KubeCon?
KubeCon.
Or DockerCon.
That was my answer, yeah. Okay, let's repeat conference.
Conference, okay.
Yeah, okay.
IP tables blog.
IP tables, that's very specific. Not just blog posts in general, but the IP tables blog in particular.
Was that the one with the chainsaw, and the big anchor?
Exactly. Yeah. That was the OG IP tables replacement blog. It was very popular, but it was also almost 10 years ago now.
All right, let's find out. Was the IP tables blog post one of the named answers? Blog post or article was number 1. So yeah. Here's a nice suggestion that we might have found out through friends.
I was going to say word of mouth, yeah, friends.
Yeah, and we've got another similar suggestion from Ray, who was introduced to Cilium by a friend. So do we want to suggest?
Yeah, let's use that one.
Let's take it.
Is friends or word of mouth one of the answers? Colleague or acquaintance? I guess our audience were feeling less friendly when they answered that, but fantastic. All right, here's an interesting suggestion. People might have learned about Cilium through the CKA qualification. Do we want to try that as an answer?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's try it. Oh no, it's a red X. Okay, we've got to guess one more.
eCHO.
Oh,
eCHO must
yeah,
be,
exactly.
it must be number 4, obviously, no?
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, let's find out. Is it eCHO? YouTube
Ah.
eCHO.
There you go.
That's fantastic. Oh, in fact, Carla just got in there in time to say through an eCHO episode. Yeah, wonderful. Well, to anyone who is watching and learning about Cilium through eCHO, we're really appreciating you being here. So that's great. It's great that we were part of that. Okay, so that concludes our little round of family feud. We call it family fortunes in the UK, so I have to try and remember to use that US terminology. Okay, we also had Tony saying he was introduced through blog posts, including Arthur Chow's blog, which is good to know. That's really great. He does actually write some really nice detailed blogs.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Yeah, wonderful. Joseph's trying to embarrass me, but okay. Thank you, Joseph. All right, so I am hoping that we have 1 or 2 questions for our founders and our Cilium creators, and I'm also hoping that Katie is able to put them on the screen for me somehow, or bring them into the chat somehow. While we wait for the audio, I know that we've had 1 or 2 questions submitted beforehand, so we will have some questions. I guess one question would be, how did you all meet? Who wants to take that?
It's interesting, right? Because many of us have been working for a very, very, very long time together. Daniel, I know from Red Hat times. Daniel actually wrote me a cold email. Hey, Thomas, I'm here in Zurich. I want to work for Red Hat. Do you have an opening? We didn't have an opening, but for Daniel, we of course made an opening. And we started working together, I guess. I know, 20 years ago or something. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was funny. Like I was in Switzerland already, and I saw you had a Swiss email address, and you've been contributing to the Linux kernel. And I was looking for a kernel job back then, and I thought, oh wow, maybe there is a possibility, and who would have thought?
Yeah, and as part of the rollout, right, I also was involved in Open vSwitch. That's actually also how I met my co-founder Dan Wendland. And guess who was on the Open vSwitch core team? Joe Stringer. So that's how we got to work together on Open vSwitch, which is kind of very similar to Cilium, but written for the virtualization age, a little bit like slightly more dated technology. But we worked together. I wasn't at VMware, so we were not the same company, but we worked together very, very closely. And then at the end of that engagement, Open Daylight started coming around, and at one of the Open Daylight conferences, I met André. Because André, were you like an intern? Like, what was your? Because I was already with Daniel, and I think then I met you at the Open Daylight conference, I think.
Yeah. I was an intern at the Linux Foundation, and Open Daylight was the internship that I got into. So I was in Santa Clara, I think, where the conference was held.
At the Marriott in Santa Clara.
Yes, exactly. But that was a long time ago. Yeah, more than 10 years ago.
12 years ago or something. Yes.
Yeah.
And we hired André into the team at Cisco, and eventually out of all of that started Cilium. So I think more than 10 years for all of you.
That's amazing.
All of us through open source.
Yes.
That's also really cool that the Linux Foundation kind of internship program, that we're still involved with today, and we're still using things like the LFX mentorship process. That's been a way of meeting folks who have ultimately, joined the project, and maybe even some of them have come and worked for iSurveillance. So these internship programs, really, really good, really valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, we have. I think this is one of the pre-submitted questions, and it's quite a leap in sort of terms of detail. So we're asking, what role does eBPF play in Cilium's big TCP feature? This seems right up your street, Daniel. Do you want to take this question?
Sure, yeah. In general, the big TCP feature is more on the core networking stack, so it's a little bit more independent to eBPF. In general, if people don't know yet what big TCP is, it's basically a kernel feature which allows the kernel to aggregate a lot larger packets so that you don't have to traverse the network stack up and down more often. So you can aggregate instead of 64K supersized packets up to, I think in Cilium, we have 256K packets. And that is like a kernel feature, but we use it in combination with eBPF because we have this concept which is called BPF host routing, where we don't go through the upper kernel networking stack, and we do all the forwarding in the host namespace through BPF. So we can use the BPF routing lookup and other things to determine where the packet needs to go to. And because of that, we can gain the benefit with big TCP as well, because if packets go through the upper stack, there's something called SKP orphan, and the kernel thinks basically that the packet already left the node, and this will a little bit break the TCP back pressure. So it actually has to make use of eBPF in order to gain the performance benefits. So in the end, they do play together.
Fantastic. All right, another question. What's coming, if we turn to the future, what's coming in Cilium 1.19? What are your favorite features that are coming in the next release, or maybe in future releases? It doesn't have to be in 1.19.
I think there's one pretty cool development going on, which is around integrating Cilium with zTunnel. And so this is enhancing the mutual authentication with Cilium. I think it's just it's a novel and fast way of doing encryption. So I think it's really exciting to see different open source projects kind of working together and Cilium adopting zTunnel.
Yeah, I'm super excited about zTunnel too. Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
I'm also super excited about all the gateway API changes that are coming. One of the side effects of the stop of the Nginx maintenance aspect is that a lot of users are now trying out gateway API and move it into production relatively quickly, and that is obviously leading to a lot of feedback. What are the gaps? What are the maybe scale challenges? What are usability challenges? And a lot of them are being addressed in 1.19. So I've been very excited about the quick and fast evolution of gateway API in the last couple of months.
Fantastic. André, anything that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, so I was glancing around the issues and checking what are the issues that people are requesting the most through GitHub, because people can give a thumbs up on the issue, and therefore we can sort it out by most reactions on those GitHub issues. And one that it had more than 20 or something thumbs up, and it was just a quick feature that I just added in the last couple of days, was the ability to publish Helm charts on through OCI repositories. So in 1.19, we will have finally, that people have been asking this for so long, Helm charts through OCI repositories.
Fantastic. Yeah, that will be nice. All right, follow-up question related to the zTunnel work. Will it be cooperating with Service Mesh? Who wants to answer that?
Depends a little bit what this means. So this is using cTunnel, the upstream cTunnel implementation, but I'm not sure it will be compatible in the sense that you can mix different cTunnel nodes, so to speak. So have a set of worker nodes or Cilium cTunnels and a set of worker nodes that are maybe Istio ambient mesh cTunnel implementation. Because the control planes are not connected, but it is the same cTunnel implementation underneath. But from a Cilium perspective, it's using Cilium's cluster mesh control plane to propagate all the different identities and all of the state and so on.
So it will be compatible with using Cilium for service mesh.
Correct, yes. So you can use cTunnel in Cilium to achieve mutual TLS. So not just a mutual authentication that we had before where the authentication was TLS based, but the actual transport was IPsec or WireGuard encrypted. Now, both the authentication and the actual transport is in mutual TLS through cTunnel.
Awesome. All right, we had a couple of questions that I think are sort of related. So a pre-submitted question about why did you choose IPv6 all those 10 years ago? Because for those who don't know, it was IPv6 only in the first release, right? And related, is IPv6 easier to implement or as easy to implement as IPv4? I'm not sure whether that means for the implementation of Cilium or for the implementation of a network using Cilium, but maybe we can touch on both those angles of it. So yeah, why IPv6 first?
Well, I think if you look back, like what was the fundamental problem we wanted to solve on day one? It was scale, because one of the obvious changes from having worked on virtualization was that for every single VM would get replaced by 10 to 20 containers. So whatever scale a user would be running on, that would be 10 to 20x bigger. So obviously we looked at, and even 10 years ago, IP exhaustion was already a topic that was believed to be ending the world in a couple of years. So very obviously we were looking at IPv6. I also remember, I think this was even pre any initial conference talks. We went over into the Facebook office because we had obviously ties from the eBPF world, and we presented Cilium. And it resonated pretty well from an idea perspective. They didn't end up actually using it, but back then Facebook was dreaming about making memory addressable by IPv6. So not actually just stopping at making a node addressable, but looking at making memory addressable by IPv6 addresses. So back then that was a very natural or a very obvious thing to align on to make sure this is future-proof. As we then worked with actual users, the focus shifted pretty hard over to IP4, and we even overcompensated and dropped quite a bit of IPv6 support for a while and had to re-add some of the parity feature side on the IPv6.
The reality came back to us.
The reality came back.
But it's funny because like all the hyperscalers, like in their data centers, they run IPv6 natively with 99% of the traffic nowadays, right? But yeah, real world is, sometimes different.
Well, I think it was still one of the most important decisions that we could make, because by making that decision, we essentially also made the decision that we are going to build an abstraction model that is assuming that the entire network is flat, which is obviously very easy to achieve with IPv6, much harder to achieve with IPv4 because eventually you will run out of IPv4 addresses and you will need NAT and all of that. We now have all of that in Cilium as well, but it was added as an additional site or an additional add-on. The fundamental clean model is prepared for a future that is IPv6 based, and it will happen eventually, right? We obviously see more and more. It's just going 10x slower than everybody assumed. I remember IPv6 migration and transition was a topic when I started my career. That's many, many, many years ago.
So I guess one little question, when did you make the decision to also add IPv4 support, and was it kind of controversial within the project when you made that choice?
Was it controversial? I don't think so, right? I think we were very just end user feedback driven back then. We looked at GitHub issues, what are issues, just as André said, we looked at what are the issues that had thumbs up on them, what were the blocking issues that users reported. I remember we ran a user survey every 6 months, and one of the first questions was, what is blocking you from using Cilium in production? And the answer to that was pretty much then the roadmap for the next 6 months, literally asking the community what is missing before you can use this, and then work on that. And obviously IPv4 was the most asked for feature very, very quickly. So we didn't really have a choice.
So presumably that was pretty early on in the project then.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do any of you remember when we added IPv4? It was probably in the first year, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, initially, like the IPv6 only was a radical experiment, right? Like to see how such an architecture could look like.
So coming back to that idea of being able to address memory with IPv6, is that something that's going to happen?
Well, maybe somebody has done it, right? We don't know. I think it's. I've like papers on this exist for a long time in distributed supercomputing to make memory addressable on the network directly. I think today, like similar concepts are rather used by something like DMA, where the memory does not have to cross the CPU. It's obviously very, very important in AI infrastructure. I don't think anybody is using IPv6 for this. So I don't think so, but the concept that memory is addressable or that memory can be shared over the network wasn't necessarily new. It was more to use IPv6 to actually implement that.
Interesting. All right. Another question from pre-submitted before the show. What's the most unique use case of Cilium that you have seen?
Well, it has to be what Daniel mentioned earlier, no?
The phone.
No, the Quake on Node.
Oh, the Quake thing, yeah.
So this is actually, this story is probably not many people will have heard this story. So as iSurveillance, we actually ran a SaaS all the way back, like I guess close to 10 years ago now. And as part of, obviously we did run Cilium as the CNI for that SaaS. So that was part of our product. And while setting up this SaaS, we noticed that, well, to expose a service publicly in the Kubernetes cluster, you need to support node port. And we did not have node port support in Cilium at all. So we had to revert back to a rather ugly hack by using SOCAT, which many of you probably know what it is. It's a very small Unix tool that just allows you to open a socket. We use SOCAT to essentially have a very minimal implementation of node port. And that was essentially running the very, 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 very first ever version of our SaaS. That then drove the implementation of node port. So node port and SOCAT, if you ask somebody who has worked or is working at iSurveillance, in particular some of the early on folks, they will definitely know about this and they will have a good laugh about SOCAT use and how it got replaced by node port. So that's also why it was such a big thing when we finally supported it. And that's why we have to test it out using Quake to make sure that it actually is working. And it was working flawlessly, right, Daniel?
Yes, it was. I also have maybe one use case. And that is basically like a few years back, we did some grassroots like type project with Cilium where we tried to support BBR congestion control for Kubernetes pods. And I'm not sure really that a lot of people are using it, but it has lots of potential. Maybe it's not well known enough, to be honest. But for KubeCon, we actually did. So we had to change the kernel to actually, because BBR uses timestamps and network packets, and whenever network packets, they go from a pod to the host, the timestamps were cleared. So it wasn't supported on the kernel side before. So we fixed the kernel to support this and then added integration into Cilium. And for KubeCon, we did a really cool demo where we had a media streaming server that was in a pod. And we simulated network loss on the wire. For example, if you're a user on a mobile phone, you will see something similar as well. And we demonstrated in that KubeCon talk that the default TCP congestion control algorithm, which is cubic, when this was enabled, then when there was packet loss on the wire, then the video streaming quality went lower. And with BBR, it was able to stay in HD. And I think this was a very nice visual. And yeah, hopefully more people will make use of that. So that would be perhaps like a more unique use case.
I remember that demo. It was really good. I mean, any demo that's got something visual in it is always going to land really. It's easy to understand the benefit. So I think that was a great demo. Okay, let's try and parse this question from Tony. With fabulous BGP capabilities, it enables having components outside of the CNI's VXLAN. I don't know if this is a question or maybe this is a follow-up of the unique use case question. So I guess it's just a nice complementary description of being able to use the BGP capability. So thank you, Tony, for that. That's really cool. Here's a question that has just come in. What made Go the right fit and what advantages did it bring? I mean, everyone was using Go back then, right?
Everybody in Kubernetes was using Go, of course, right? And I think it was like, I think it would have been incredibly hard to write a component for the Kubernetes ecosystem if not in Go back then. Now it's a little bit easier, but back then, like all the libraries, all the client-side code, everything was in Golang. And I think the other real benefit was Go was learnable for all of us kernel developers, right? Like, so when we started this, most of us, I'm not sure, I think André was the one person who actually had some Go experience. I started learning Go while writing Cilium. So I came from writing C-level code at kernel level, just like Daniel. And then Go, I wrote Go like C in the beginning. And then André was obviously slapping my hand. Thomas, don't write Go like this. This is not, you need to use channels and you need to use subroutines and like, don't stop writing it like C code. So eventually we all got better, but that was the other benefit, that was actually approachable. So the bar was low enough for all of us to then learn. And it was clearly a safer language compared to just writing it in C or C++.
Did you actually consider writing it in C or maybe do any prototyping in C?
I don't think so. I think it was pretty uncontroversial pretty quickly. I think we had some debates later on in some other pieces being written more in Python and so on, whether everything should be Golang. I remember our first ever CI was a bash script. So there was obviously lots of debate on how the CI portion should be done, right? And there were advocates for like, yeah, we can just scale that bash script. Even if it's 50,000 lines of bash script, that's the way to go. Like, very easy to use. And eventually there was discussion there, like what to use. And eventually we also landed on using Go code for that as well. So I think for the core itself, for the agent, Go was pretty quickly set because it was the obvious choice back then. I wouldn't say it was without side effects. I think one of the side effects of Golang is that it's relatively hard to control the memory usage. It's not impossible, but that's one of the downsides of Go. Not unique to Go itself, like several other languages have that same downside. But I think that is a little bit of the downside of all the agents written in Go. It's relatively memory hungry.
Yeah, it's also interesting just from like looking at Cilium maturity over 10 years. I think Go has also matured as an ecosystem over that time. Because I know early on, we did have some debates, and I think there was this memorable moment where one of the popular logging libraries changed the name. And the path, it took a uppercase letter, and I think the author changed their username to a lowercase letter, and it broke the entire Go ecosystem for a couple of weeks, right? So there's definitely some like bumpy parts, but Go's matured so much since then. We've got all the vendoring stuff in the ecosystem, we've got logging libraries now. There's a lot of developments that have occurred in Go, and I think now it's probably still is the right choice for writing Cilium.
It was definitely exciting, right? Every new Go version, some new features were added. We had internal tech talks, and then the next day, everybody wanted to rebase Golang to the latest version, so we could use whatever latest Go features that have been added. So it was also exciting to grow together with the language itself. Even some of the challenges we had as we were writing Go for a bigger project, others would have as well. So eventually, Go found ways to address some of them. So it was exciting that we also grew together with the language.
Maybe also a shout out to the Cilium eBPF library, because back in the days there was not really like a good library to make use of like all the eBPF functionality from user space, right? I mean, there's libbpf in the kernel, which is C, but you also had to like bootstrap that.
Yeah, shout out to Nate, who wrote a lot of that initial Golang eBPF library code.
Fantastic question from Leo there. I think thank you for that. Another fun question here. What feature took the longest to add or made you lose the most sleep?
I think it must be was a differentiate between TCP and UDP. I think that took us, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 years, 3 different people. And there was always an attempt from a brave person, and then they gave up in the middle, and then another person tried to pick up, and they gave up in the middle as well. And only after 4 or 5 years, we finally completed this huge feature. And I was opening the GitHub issue, and I even see Tim Hawking from Kubernetes leaving a comment on this GitHub issue on Cilium, with more than 150 comments that it has. Just the issue, not the pull request.
That's a great one.
I think we had that at some point as a newcomer assignment. But yeah,
just hoping somebody new would just pick it up on the side.
Oh, labeled as good first issue.
I think what's maybe not obvious is how long it takes for like a networking data path to mature. I think if you look at connection tracking, all of these corner cases, it took years to like work through them. It's super exciting to write new data paths, but it takes years to like even have the time to encounter all of the small little issues. I remember we were running super stable in production with a set of customers, and then a new bigger customer came around, and all of a sudden was at a new level of scale and was churning nodes much more aggressively than before. And all of a sudden, the whole project was completely unstable again because they kind of uncovered a new set of issues. And we found race condition after some race conditions would only show up in clusters of more than 5,000 nodes. So you needed massive scale to like encounter some of them. So I think overall that core data path just took years to stabilize. Now it's super solid. That's great. But if I look back how long that took, it's actually quite amazing.
All right, we've got another really interesting question here. At what state is the eBPF layer 7 parser completely in kernel? Or when do we start doing layer 7 parsing completely in eBPF? Does that even make sense?
I think it makes sense for some cases. So it is available. It's part of it's part of iSurveillance Enterprise offering actually. And I think to be fair, this is not a full proxy equivalent. This is not a full service session equivalent. It's as Theodore writes here, it's a parser. So it's giving visibility. It's able to parse layer 7, for example, HTTP or DNS or other layer 7 protocols, and having visibility almost free from an overhead perspective is incredibly valuable, because the moment we start introducing any sort of proxy, even if we leave the overhead aside, as soon as we start introducing proxies, we have to terminate those connections. So we start changing how the networking looks like. If we have an eBPF layer 7 parser, we can gain observability without actually touching anything. So it means that we see something, but we're not taking influence. And as soon as we start putting proxies in place or anything that has to reroute packets somewhere, then that new component can actually make the network connection fail as well. So it has potential side effects. So that alone is by far the biggest advantage, that we can have completely passive, low overhead visibility for troubleshooting, for metrics, for all sorts of use cases. But it's I think I want to make sure that it's clear. This is not the same as, or having a layer 7 parser on its own is not enough to implement all of the service mesh features. Things like retries, things like layer 7 load balancing, they need more than just the parser. They also need control over the actual flows. They need termination and so on. So that's my view on this. So it does make sense, but it's we should not look at this that it's a replacement for a proxy. It is a subset of the functionality with a clear use case, and for that use case, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I think when we were, first talking about using Cilium as a service mesh, a lot of the discussion there was about how increasingly over time, more and more networking functionality has moved down into the kernel. And, this is another example of that and it could be incremental steps. Maybe in, when we do the 20-year episode, we'll be talking about how long it took to get the whole, layer 7 comprehension into the kernel or not. But, theoretically it's possible, but just because something can be done doesn't necessarily make it a good idea, I guess.
And by the way, the same benefit also exists, for example, if you look at something like cTunnel compared to using a full-blown Envoy. cTunnel also takes less control over the traffic. It's slightly more involved than an eBPF in-kernel implementation, but as soon as we start running a full HTTP parser in Envoy, if that parser for some reason cannot parse HTTP, then the entire connectivity will fail. And something like cTunnel is not vulnerable to this. It's a transparent tunnel. So this benefit is not exclusively limited to just using eBPF. In general, if we don't have to terminate connections, then that is a clear benefit.
All right, we are getting very close to the top of the hour, but I got a fantastic question that I think we should probably conclude this section with from Joseph. When will we release Cilium version 2? Any thoughts?
Silence.
we have had this discussion, I guess, at least a little, but no specific concrete plans, I think.
We're definitely discussing it. I think there is a set of things that have accumulated where if we had the chance to do Cilium 2.0, we would get the permission to break a couple of things. We have a very strict policy that upgrades have to be incredibly seamless, so we're not requiring, or we're trying to reduce changes needed on upgrades to bare minimum. So we have been dragging along quite a bit of technical depth, because we have not been doing a Cilium 2.0. So that's one of the motivations. I think the other big motivation is that we're now seeing Kubernetes being used for virtualization as well, more and more, and that will drive a bit more changes as well in terms of where Cilium needs to go. So I think these two things together is driving the conversation. What could be the correct scope for a Cilium 2.0 as well? What we're not doing is just for marketing purposes tagging a Cilium 2.0 or a Cilium 10.0 or something. We would only actually, I think, do this if it actually makes sense that we're almost breaking something a little bit and changing some base assumption.
Okay. Any last thoughts on anything you want to bring up about Cilium in the future and the next 10 years of Cilium in the next minute?
I can just say that this has been a great community, and it could not have been as great as without you, not the ones that are in this call, but the ones that are watching, and our community that's over Slack, over social media, and the ones that we talk together over KubeCon. So thank you so much for all the support that you have given us over these past 10 years.
Yeah, thank you, Andre and Joe, for maintaining Cilium for years. Thank you, Daniel, for getting eBPF where it is, because without that, eBPF or Cilium would not be possible. Thank you, Liz, and entire team for essentially driving the community so much. I think so. As much as the community is to thank, I also want to thank all of you on this call, because Cilium would not have happened with each and every one of you.
And the same right back to you, Thomas. So yeah, I think this has been a really fun way to celebrate the last 10 years. Really looking forward to seeing where we'll be in the next 10 years. I mean, this project has many more years of success ahead of it, I'm absolutely sure. So with that, thank you all so much for your time. Thank you to everyone watching for your time, your comments, and your questions. Thank you to everyone who answered the survey questions to enable our little quiz earlier on. And I think there was one more thing I needed to mention, which is upcoming eCHO episodes. I'm sure there will be links in the notes that are on HackMD in the usual place. There will be an upcoming episode that reviews the features coming in Cilium 1.19, which is due for release, I think, early February. So we will have an eCHO episode dedicated to that. And I think before that, if I'm not mistaken, we will be having a forecast of what's coming in not just Cilium, but the world of cloud native in 2026. I also want to thank all the people who have presented eCHO episodes, especially Duffy, who has done probably the most episodes of anyone. So thanks to him, but also to, I think there's probably 10 or 12 people who have also hosted eCHO episodes, and we wouldn't be at episode 200 without all of you. So thanks to everyone who's participated. Thank you to our audience. And with that, wish everyone a fantastic new year. See you soon.
Bye. Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
See you.
Bye-bye. Happy New
Thank
Year.
you.